Thank you for joining us today in our May office hours for PI. We have some exciting stuff to share with you today, and we're going to jump right in. So today we have myself, Kelsey, Senior Product Marketing Manager for PI, Kurt, Senior Product Business Owner, Joshua, Manager of Products, and Chris, I believe I skipped your own dedicated slide, but we also have Chris Ascalisi here, Technical Solutions Specialist, I believe is your exact title.
Yeah.
Awesome. Today we will be covering, as usual, new features and improvements. Joshua will take us through a demo of the new features. We will look at an updated roadmap, and we have some exciting new things to share on there for you. And then at the very end, we have an announcement about an upcoming change, and then open Q&A. But as always, if you have questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to drop them in as we go along. We will try to answer them as we can if it's relevant to what we're talking about at the time. And if not, then we will save them for the end. So please feel free to drop those in. That's what we're here for, to help to show you what you need, to give you the answers you need and everything else. So Kurt, would you like to walk us through the new features?
Yeah, absolutely. So hello, everyone. I'll start off with talking about the Aspire Sync updates, and you're going to have some new template approaches there, as well as being able to sync one-time items within PropertyIntel and Aspire, and then some conventional things in terms of changing names and displays. With the advanced drawing tools, a number of requested tools being added, including enhancing our symbol library, and some smaller but very useful things like snapping points to the edges. And then we're also going to talk about ProMaps, which is going to be launched here and puts artificial intelligence in your hands. So I think you're going to find this demo very interesting. You're going to have the ability to turn on AI data layers, as well as get additional data sources like slope. All right, I think we're good to...
Sorry, I lost my unmute button. I'll pass it over to Joshua now for a demo of the new features.
All right. Yeah, so I'll kind of show some of the new stuff that we have out this month. So the stuff around the Aspire integration that you may have saw there saying coming soon. That's in kind of its final stages of testing. A couple of things that we're revising with it so that we can support that really well. So I don't have anything to demo with it today, but we do expect some of those last little changes to get wrapped up here in the next within the next 2 weeks. So you'll have access to that feature functionality as well, using templates and the one-time item request there too. So then outside of that, we do have several different new features with our drawing tools. So continued improvements with it. So some of the ones that particularly impact your areas, volumes, and line tools. So one of the changes that you'll notice whenever you open up to draw an area is this kind of drawing options panel on the left-hand side when you're actively drawing got a little bit of a change. And so one of the new things that you'll see first primarily is this square tool. And so with the rectangle square tool, you can now draw squares and rectangles with just a simple click. So turning on the rectangle tool, whenever I drag, my cursor is going to draw a rectangle. If I hold down Shift, it will lock it into a square. Again, if you turn on your distance guides, it will also then show you the sides. And so if you need to be able to set this to a specific size, so click and drag, you can drag out to whatever that needs to be and drop and draw your square or rectangle. And then with both the square and circle tool, we've had this default shape size. And so this is a really, it's like Kurt kind of mentioned, it's a small thing, but has a lot of value. And one of the particular use cases for circles ends up being with mulch tree rings. And so if you need to draw 5-foot rings to draw your mulch tree rings, let me go over, I actually have a mulch tree ring material. So we can set this diameter to be 5 feet. And so that's going to set us a default diameter so that every time that I click just a single click on the plan, it's going to draw that mulch tree ring to a perfectly 5-foot diameter. In this case, I could go ahead and turn on cutout overlap. So it's going to remove the turf underneath it as well. But with this turned on, if I have a value in the default shape size, I can just do one single click and you can see it draws that perfectly 5-foot diameter, which is 20 square feet. And so if I was going through and counting tree rings, it's really quick and easy to do that because it's just one single click and it drops that tree ring for you on the plan. So huge improvement in terms of just time savings and value there, being able to set those sizes and draw tree rings. But we also, that same functionality exists within the shape, this rectangle tool. So if you're drawing a patio that you want to set perfectly with the width and height of it is, then you can set those dimensions here, a single click, and it will draw that rectangular square for you. And then, like Kurt mentioned as well, we have lots of new symbols. And so you can see the new symbol library in the catalog, or if you're adding any particular item that that may be, let's see here, that may be an object material. And so to see those new icons, you can click where the icon, where you would normally set your icon, and it'll expose kind of that full library. So previously we only had, I think, about 7 different shapes, these kind of basic ones that you see here at the beginning. And so I think we've added close to 40 now that you have. And so there's additional plant symbols that you can kind of see here, more tree options, some options that look more like palms or things that you might experience in some other different climates out west that you can use. We have hardscape elements that include like rocks, stepping stones, boulders, and then lots of others symbols that can be used for irrigation or lighting or drainage, those type of things. And so you can see kind of this is the full library that we added. Again, continuing to keep it simple because we don't want to overwhelm you with choices. One of the kind of just our core values behind PropertyIntel is keeping it simple so that you can do this work quickly, but definitely did unlock a lot of new options for you to kind of be a little bit more creative on the plans you're doing, whether that's takeoffs or measurements on the side, or if you're doing some light design work within PropertyIntel. These definitely help to be able to have greater clarity with what you're doing. With the addition of a lot more symbols, then we have included an ability to search. And so you can do like some keyword searches like this by tree, but then you can also filter by category. So sorry, hit the wrong key there. But you can filter by, let me bring that back up. You can filter by category with this landscape. If you turn that on, it's going to filter down to the landscape symbols. If I check hardscape, it's also going to just filter down to those symbols. So a quick, easy way to do some filtering with that. And then the last kind of drawing tool improvement was snap to edges. And so this allows, it's a drawing option that you'll see that you can turn it on. You can toggle on the switch. We do have a keyboard shortcut like we do all of our drawing options. So I can hit S on my keyboards. That's just the letter S one time, and that'll enable snap to edges. And so snap to edges allows you to come through, and it's going to highlight the different edges on the shape. So you can see how start drawing this line material. Then as I get over to the edge of this this shape here, it's going to lock onto it. And so I can then go through and pretty quickly and easily outline this material. So in this case where I was outlining the edging, you can kind of see the whole time of how you're snapped onto it. It snaps to edges, links, and then it also does snap to control points too. So that's a huge time saver again, as well. If you're outlining things, looking to kind of butt up to the edge but not overlap it, it allows you to be able to draw those things like where turf and mulch beds interact and intersect. While I have this open too, one of the things that you would notice as well on line tools is this circle and square tool. We added those in for line tools. Previously, that was just for the shapes, like areas and volumes and object groups, but now you can use these same circle and square tools for lines. So drawing perfect circles or drawing squares with line tools is also available within it. All right. Now the last thing that we wanted to kind of demo then too is to look at our ProMaps feature functionality. And so like we mentioned, this puts really the power of AI into your hands. And so one of the things that you'll see with ProMaps, so when you have a map, an aerial project open, like this one, there's a new icon in your top toolbar that would say ProMaps. And so you can click it, and then it just kind of gives you some information about what ProMaps does. And so it allows you to instantly detect different site features, building footprints, some different vegetation features like the turf, the tree canopies, that sort of thing, but also parking lots, so asphalt and concrete are also features that it instantly detects. We have a slope visualization tool within a ProMap. So this is going to kind of, what it does is produce like a heat map of the slope on the property. And so you can quickly see areas that may be too much of a percentage slope to put a mower on, and you can identify those. Or if you're looking at a property for a drainage design, you can see some of those elevation changes within the slope to kind of get an idea of maybe even to why they may be having a particular problem. And then from those layers, then those data packs that will overlay onto the map, you can then transition those into items in your list to where your automated measurements are unlocked. And so you're able to kind of move an AI data layer over into a catalog item, which then now it's measured, but then you can also go in and edit that shape, clean it up, because it is kind of a little bit of the raw data coming in. So sometimes it needs a little bit of cleanup to make it nice and neat for you. We'll get into this a little bit later, but ProMaps does use an additional credit to be able to unlock this for your maps. But again, the value that you get out of that is far outweighs what the cost of that additional credit would end up being. So yeah, so when you're ready, it could kind of go through just a demo of the workflow. You would click activate. And so this kind of works very similar to the way that PI Complete works, in the sense that you're going to outline the area of the property that you want to bring in the data for. And so in this case, I would just quickly outline the perimeter of this this particular property. This is our office headquarters. And so now draw that shape just like you would any other shape. And when you're ready to start bringing in the layers, you would hit this little checkbox in the top to confirm it. If you had other areas that you wanted to bring in, you can click this little shape icon to add additional areas. So you don't have to just highlight one big area. You can focus in on different parts of the parcel that you need to. But that's what this button does for you. But then I can click here and confirm to submit it. And then now I can start to turn on the layers. So you can see here, we have building footprint. So if I toggle on building footprints, it's going to go ahead and automatically highlight that for you. If this were a residential area and we had swimming pools in the view, then it could highlight swimming pools. This one particularly doesn't have any, but because it's commercial property, but it does highlight those swimming pools for you. Then surfaces. So our surfaces pack includes, like I mentioned, it includes concrete, asphalt, and lawn, and then natural area. And so you can kind of see here how it's pulling all this data in. Definitely it worked. We've seen a lot of really good success with asphalt and concrete. And then within lawn, it just really depends. Sometimes slope has an impact on it. Areas that get heavy, like longer dormant season, can see some inconsistent results with lawn. But for the most part, areas that have, especially areas of the country that have cool season grass, like tall fescue and some of the other bluegrasses, we've seen really, really good results that they're getting when they're pulling in this lawn grass area. But we also, I'll show you, like whenever you do transition it, we have tools that allow you to clean it up quickly as well. Vegetation, which is going to be tree canopies that you'll see. It does break down vegetation by high, medium, and low. So meaning like high ends up being trees, and then low would end up being kind of more ground cover. The medium a lot of times would be shrubs. And then lastly is our slope visualization. So when I turn that on, it's going to, as I kind of mentioned before, it's going to produce that heat map to kind of show the slope of it. So I have, so everything's just kind of turned on here within ProMaps. I'll show you kind of how to interact with it outside of the actual ProMap tool as well. But before I do that, one of the things to highlight is looking at how this data, you could then transition it into a shape for you to measure and draw with. And so one of the ones particularly that, like I said, that works really well is asphalt. So what I can do here, since I don't have an asphalt material within my list, I could add one, let's just call it parking lot. And so transitioning then this over, I would come over to the particular data pack layer that I want to move. And so if I want asphalt to come into my pavement parking material over here, then when I hover over asphalt, you'll see there's this little settings icon. And so I can click this setting icon, which allows you to do some additional things with it, like changing the color if you don't like just the default color we had, or you can play with the confidence layer. It can sometimes have an impact of what information is coming back. It's usually not a huge impact, but if you want to, you can move this up or down to use that. You can change the opacity of it. But this is the feature that I wanted to kind of show. So down below is there's an associate with an item. And so this allows you to select any of these items that are over here in the left list and take this layer and move it into that as a shape. So I can click this pavement parking, and I can click convert layer to item. And then what it's going to do is it converts that layer to parking lot. And so now if I exit out of my ProMap tool, just by clicking the ProMap, then you'll see how all this parking lot was now measured. And so you can kind of go through, you click it, edit it, change it if you want to, that sort of thing. One of the other things that we've seen users do use this feature as well is using some of our other tools like the reverse cutout. And so with this, like if I had to quickly, with the parking lot now measured, if I had to come in and quickly measure these different parking lot islands, then I could do that. So like if these were a bed area, let me change the color really quick. And if I wanted to measure these bed areas, I could just turn on my reverse cutouts and then really don't have to spend a whole lot of time drawing these. I can just kind of click over and it's gonna, like that reverse cutout does, it's gonna punch through and it's not gonna change anything with the parking lot, but it's gonna outline that island. And so the same thing can happen over here on this side to where I can come through and outline each one of those islands really quickly. Then as well, our merge materials helps cleaning this up a lot faster too. And so you can kind of see here where this, I think because some of the sediment on the parking lot had a little bit of inconsistent results in this corner. And so I can turn on my merge identical materials and easily come in and outline the additional area that needs to be included in my parking lot. And what it will end up doing is coming in and merging that. And so when I click merge, it just adds it to the shape, kind of removes any overlaps there and allows you to quickly clean it up. So it's kind of a quick overview of ProMaps. It's really excited about it because, like I said, we are seeing a lot of efficiency, time savings with it. And then we are seeing, let me show just kind of the slope, what that looks like too. But with the layers turned on, I can then show this information outside this view. And so this is that slope map that I was kind of speaking about. And so this additionally, a lot of positive feedback from our beta testing and beta users with it. Because as one said, it kind of does almost eliminate the need to even go to the property because now you're able to kind of see, okay, from a production standpoint, can I get a mower on this or can I not? And so you can see kind of what we're doing here. If there's not any slope, if it's relatively flat, there's no color involved with it. So that makes a lot of sense here with this parking lot. But then we're kind of showing you just kind of a gradient across between 1 to 10%, 10 to 20% and above. And so you can kind of see how this site here has this, how there is a little bit of slope on this hill between, between a 10 to 20%, and then it gets into this spot here of 20 to 45%, which then starts to kind of get into, if you're on a riding mower, a little bit of a questionable, can we mow this or not safely with a riding mower? But if you're, if you're on a stand-on, you could continue to do that. Typically, you'd have to get into this 45 to 70% range to start being to a safety issue there. So, but really, a really incredibly useful tool for production managers, for those doing takeoffs, and additionally too, for if you're doing design and you want to kind of get an idea of what the slope looks like on that property. It does that there. That's going to wrap up the demo part. I think we wanted to look at roadmap briefly. Drag that over. And so just kind of a quick preview of the roadmap before I got to hand it back over to Kurt. We are wrapping up some of the stuff for the Aspire that I mentioned about, but then some of the next big things that we're getting into and soon to be released are bulk orders with PI Complete. The bulk order with PI Complete is going to be our next to release kind of big feature coming out here this coming month in June. That'll be available to you. Mobile optimization as well. We're getting into that work, as well as some continued enhancements. So what this enhancements is this is optimizations to our current tools. So this is where we're taking feedback from you as users and starting to build feature functionality around that. And so for me as a product manager, that's really exciting to be able to do, to be able to kind of get to the spot where we are here a year and a half after we initially released the product, and be able to get to those things in the roadmap where we can improve upon all of your feedback as users that you've given us during this time. So excited about those. Collaborative editing, really big one. A lot of work's involved with that we're kicking off. And so also it's going to be a huge feature getting out to where you'll be able to work in projects at the same time. So that's coming later this year. We do look to see that later this fall, but then moving them past that, some additional really neat stuff with drones, autonomous mowers, and then also providing in some site audit and inspection functionality within PropertyIntel, because those two things, the PropertyIntel does expose and helps you to connect and collect all that additional value that you have in properties. And so oftentimes the work that you're doing with site audits and inspections flows into the map, and needing to be able to connect that either with your measurements or being able to use our tools that we have with the design functionality to be able to take what you're doing in site audits and reveal those enhancement opportunities for your customers. So that's an additional exciting feature that's here a year or so out, but we're excited to get to work on it and be delivering on it here soon. So I'm going to hand it off to Kurt, and then we'll come back for our Q&A.
All right, and Kelsey, I think we've got another slide that we were going to show.
Yeah, I can pull that back up for you.
Okay, great. This is great stuff, and we're really excited about the ProMap release. AI is such a powerful opportunity here for business revolution, and our goal with PropertyIntel is to give you the best options for the job, for the use case. And so, that now stands, you've got your standard aerial map. You also have your ProMaps, which involves the AI that Josh just showed, and then PropertyIntel Complete. And so one thing we're doing to make using PropertyIntel more streamlined and easy, and also request multiple requests from our customer base too, is applying something called all-inclusive credits, which essentially means any type of map you want to do, whether it be doing it yourself, leveraging AI or the advanced ProMap, or having us do it for you, you can now use credits to do so. And again, it's all about providing you with the best option for the job at hand. So with ProMaps, you're seeing the very beginnings of AI. It is rapidly evolving. And for certain jobs, it becomes very powerful. For others, there might be some cleanup needed. But one thing is for sure, we wanted to get this in your hands as soon as we could and give you the control about how you want to use it. So we'll be implementing all-inclusive credits coming up in June, and you'll have advance notice of that. But again, instead of having to pay for PI Complete separately, you'll now be able to apply credits to be able to complete those projects. So other than that, we're extremely excited to release these new functionalities. We've already gotten, as Josh mentioned, a lot of positive feedback in the beta. But one thing's for sure, the AI has so many potential upsides that we haven't begun to even analyze. And just one point I wanted to put out is, Josh was talking about the elevation component. Imagine being able to see hazard detection on all of your maps standard, which is something we're actively pursuing, so that when you are pulling up a property, starting to measure it, you would be able to see things that could be a potential safety risk on that property. So that is it for me. Thank you, Kelsey.
Thanks, Kurt. No questions yet. If after that announcement you have any questions or have any questions about anything that we demoed today or shared, please feel free to drop them in. We'll stay on for another minute or so to just give you a chance to ask those questions. If not, you will be receiving an email after we wrap up here and I get the video published so that you can review the recording and pass it along to anyone else on your team. You will also be receiving an email later this week that, like Kurt mentioned, it will go into a little bit more detail about the upcoming change to all-inclusive credits, just so you have something in writing to reference. And then, as always, if you have any questions, you have my email, so please feel free to pass those questions over to me if we don't get to them today. Still not seeing anything come in, so we thank you very much for coming to our May office hours. Okay, here we have one. What happens when we use all of our credits on PI Complete? Will it revert back to credit card?
So if you use all your credits, you would be able to buy overage credits. So instead of reverting back to a credit card, you could purchase additional credits, and then
they would
going
actually
forward.
Yeah,
Oh,
they would actually you wouldn't even have to buy them in a pack. It would just monthly automatically reconcile for you. So if you end up using up everything in that you have for a year, then it would automatically from month to month, whatever you used in that month, it would charge the card that you have on file for those overages. So I think additionally too, like our team is kind of looking at different accounts as well to kind of see if there's cost savings available to you with this feature to potentially even change tiers. So making sure that we're doing due diligence for you all as well to make sure that you are on the correct tier based off of your past usage, and that you'll really kind of take advantage of any cost savings related to this that we have available.
Yeah, and then Ron, I know you guys use a lot of PI Complete, so we can always get you back in contact with your CAE dedicated to your account. Like Kurt and Joshua both mentioned, I think especially when you use PI Complete heavily, like there's quite a bit of cost savings involved there as well. So we can talk offline just about, because it will be on a case-by-case basis, what we think would be best. But we are here to help. We want you to save money and be able to place more bids and streamline all of your billing. So very excited about that. Awesome. We don't have any more in the meantime. So again, if you have any questions that come up or think of anything later on, please feel free to shoot me an email. Thank you again for joining us today, and we will talk to you soon. See you next month.